Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to Empires SMP. I hope you're all having a good day. We're back here at the Vigil, which I'm going to update a little later, thanks to everybody in the comments who left a little bit more information about who on the server has died in their episodes. I'm going to update that later. First of all, though, I need to get hold of a little bit more string, which probably means going looking for an abandoned mineshaft or something like that to get some string from cobwebs for now, because unfortunately Scott's Major isn't around to trade at present. But we have a lot of work to do today. I've been thinking about where I'm going to get all of my glass from, and it's not the desert. Despite the fact that the desert here in Pixandria is vast and bountiful, I am kind of saving the sand for other things. People have been asking me, why don't you use sand to convert into sandstone for your builds, and then you're never going to run out of that? And let me tell you, I don't think the sandstone crafting recipe in Minecraft is particularly kind to people who want to build, because you're effectively turning 4 blocks of this stuff into 1 block. So every 4 blocks you put in, you get 1 block of sandstone out. A full stack of sand becomes a quarter stack of sandstone. So I don't really feel like using it like that unless I am basically down to my last bit of sandstone and don't really want to go mining for it again. Likewise, I have been converting some sand into glass so that we can fill up my honey farm with more bottles of honey. But I also don't really like doing that either, because glass can be obtained a different way. Personally, I think the best use of sand is to add it to gravel and dye and turn it into concrete powder, because that at least feels like something that you can't do any other way, whereas glass can be obtained from librarians. Now, there is one person on the server who has kind of a stranglehold on the librarians as a profession, and that is MythicalSausage. The king of Mythland has a library fit for a king, and I don't even want the librarians necessarily for their trades, because I had a bit of early contact with librarians who have hooked me up with mending books and stuff like that, but I need these librarians for glass. And I'm fairly certain MythicalSausage is not going to be around to trade and is not going to want to give me just free access to his librarians for glass, considering I live in a desert. Something tells me we're not going to see eye to eye. But last episode, when he came over to my empire with a bunch of pillagers in tow, it kind of gave me an idea for something we could do at the Library of Mythland that is going to guarantee I get access to his librarians for at least a little while, because I have recently come into possession of a channeling trident, a lightning rod, which doesn't work particularly well in the desert, but when I cross over into other biomes, if there is a storm, I can certainly strike some stuff with lightning. And what happens to villagers when they are struck by lightning? They turn into witches. This is actually a thing in Minecraft code, by the way. If you strike a villager with a lightning, they turn into a witch. I think it's even an achievement you can get on Bedrock Edition. So I thought what I could do is convince the king of Mythland that all of his librarians have been struck by lightning. A freak lightning strike has occurred on the Library of Mythland, and they have all been turned into witches. So we're going to need to capture a bunch of witches in order to sneak them into the Library of Mythland and sneak the villagers out, which is going to be a bit of a difficult task because villagers are hard to work with at the best of times. You know what's even harder than that? Witches. I think I have a plan though, because there is a network of tunnels underneath Mythland, naturally generated caves, which are going to allow us to sneak some witches in there and the villagers out, and hold the villagers in an undisclosed location until I've done, let's say, a couple of days worth of trading for glass, and then maybe it will give MythicalSausage his librarians back. But for now, I have a plan, and it involves getting the pillagers on my side first. I'm also going to need a lot of gold and redstone and iron and sticks, lots of sticks. We're going to need so many sticks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another heist. Now, of course, I live really close to a pillager outpost, but as luck would have it, pillager patrols visit my town quite often, and it's nothing to do with the outpost being there. I'm just around here often enough that they keep spawning, and so I'm going to see if I can lure this captain into my house, where he's going to be my guest of honor for a second or two here whilst I wait for a raid opportunity. So we're going to name tag him. He's going to be persistent in here. We're going to lock him in the house, and now the game is on. Our next task is to head south and find the best location between myself and MythicalSausage's empires that will not trigger a raid for any of his actual villagers, but will be close enough that it's easy to transport the witches into his library. Because for the sake of time and resources, we really need to minimize the distance between our witches and their final location, but I also want to make sure that it's an easy enough location to do a raid. And that swamp right there belongs to the Codfather, so I have a feeling we are relatively close to Mythland here. And if we use maybe this plains biome, we should be able to get the witches isolated fairly easily. It's nice and open, there's no trees, nothing for the pillagers and stuff to get lost in, give or take a couple of caves here, and all we need to do is go over the top of the mesa and we should be at the border of Mythland. So I think around here we'll actually do the trick quite nicely. I'm going to set up a glass box for our villager to sit in, and we're going to try and get a villager in from one of the surrounding environments. I have a feeling there might be a desert village over that way. Maybe we can get one from a savannah. Either way, we just need to bring a villager here. Yes, this village out here on this neutral desert island should be fine. Now, all I need to do is sleep for the night real quick, snag one of these villagers in a boat and row him into the sea. And I think from there we should be able to row back through the mesa to that plains biome. Yes, here we go. Here's our plains biome. All I need to do is hop out of the boat and hopefully encourage this villager to come up on the land and put him back in a boat so we can row him into the glass box. Now that he's here, we need this villager to adopt a profession. So I'm just going to make him a farmer with a nice easy composter. Once he's adopted that as his profession, perfect. This place is now primed for a pillager raid. To start a raid anywhere, it just has to count as a village. To count as a village, it just needs one villager and a workstation. Doesn't even need a bed, although I will need a bed because I don't want to fight pillagers during the night. But in the meantime, we have a little bit of other stuff to set up around here. And the irony, I come back here to my plains biome where I'm planning on setting this whole thing up, and there's a pillager patrol right here as well. Well, that might not be such a bad thing because I need to make sure I can get hold of some milk in order to dispel potion effects, because when the witches start flinging those potions, I'm going to need something to get rid of poison, slowness, weakness, anything that's going to hold me down here. And so I need to make sure there is a cow in the area, and if we end up having to dispel bad omen with our first sip of that cow's milk, then so much the better. Here's one by her lonesome in the swamp, so I'm going to move this cow just a little closer to the mesa so we have easier access to milk. At least this one's over here in an emergency, and we can grab a bucket of milk now. I expect those pillagers will have despawned at this point. Yeah, no sign of them over there on the hill. Never mind, because the next thing we need to do is set up this area to catch some raid mobs, and I'm probably going to do the same thing that I did at the museum at the end of Survival Guide, where we just surround this villager in concentric rings of powered rail, and with regular rails at the corners, of course, because they turn, and that's going to trap them in the minecart, allowing me to do basically whatever I want with them. We're going to take out all of the other raid mobs, of course. We only really want the witches from this. But from my experience with those raid mobs, I've seen that pillagers are typically the most aggressive ones. Pillagers and vindicators are the ones that will run right for the center here, and ravagers will, of course, as well. But witches and evokers tend to hang out on the fringes of the raid and don't tend to come in too close to the village. So we're going to set up a different sort of track around here, which is going to look a little bit more eccentric, and it's going to have powered rail kind of alternating in zigzags like this. And this is really so that you can trap the mobs a little bit easier. Basically, as a minecart is turning a corner like this, the hitbox remains square and actually leaves the area of the rail a lot more easily than it does if it's just on a straight section here, which means those corners catch and pick up the mobs more easily. At least that's how it appears to me. That may not exactly be what's happening, but that's at least how it comes across. So with our eccentric zigzag pattern of rails around the outside here, what we're trying to do is make sure that there are as many of those turns as possible, so that if a witch walks up into this area, she's immediately going to get picked up by a minecart and then travel off around the system and probably get a little bit car sick as she does. Well, this area now looks like utter redstone chaos, but that is kind of the point of this episode after all. And now if I push a couple of minecarts around here, yep, there you go. They do a nice zigzag. Those powered rails are really necessary. That many will just keep the minecart's momentum as it goes around here, and we can throw a couple in on this central loop as well, just to make sure that none of the pillagers who step over the rest of the rails and the levers here are going to get towards this villager. And we can already see how effective this is. A local sheep has wandered in and has immediately got caught in one of the minecarts. I'm going to leave him there for a second, but we'll probably have to remove him in a moment just so we can get the witches in here. We need every minecart we can get at this point, but it looks like everything is running pretty smoothly, so I think it's probably time to go and start a raid. Okay, time to evict this guy from our house. He's been living in there for too long, and with one shot, we take him down. We get that bad omen effect for not the first time, but hopefully also not the last. Let's head over to our pseudo village over here on the plains, taking care not to run into any other villages as we go, and it's time to start a raid. Oh yeah, I'm excited for this. It's raid time, baby! And as soon as we get close to the minecarts here, yes, I left the sheep in there, I figured I may as well, and all of the pillagers should converge on this central point where we have our villager trapped. Yep, there they come across the plains. We have our pillagers zeroing in on the location of the villager, and basically as soon as they get to the minecart rails here, they should stop. The pillagers will kind of move on their own, but sooner or later we should start to see them getting snapped up by the minecarts. Yes, there we go. There's one in there. Yeah, we got a few. A few are riding the train already. The Vindicator is actually staying well clear of the rest of these shenanigans, which is fine by me. We can take out some of the pillagers who are circling here, and it looks like, yeah, we have a couple in the minecarts. Those are the only ones left. So we can destroy the minecarts as it may be, or just destroy the pillagers themselves to clear this wave of the raid. Wave number 2 should start, and I think around wave 3 we should start getting witches. We've only got one pillager left, which I believe is a Vindicator who's just hanging out in this hole down here. I saw a banner clipping through the ground. So once we've tracked him down and delivered a couple of arrows to the face, there we go. We're on to wave 3 of the raid, and this is where we need to start looking out for witches. Yep, there we go. Not only do we have a witch, but we have our first Ravager, so I should be a little bit careful here, but we should be fine from this point onwards. Now, we are in hard mode on this server, of course, so we'll get 7 waves to this raid, and we should have a bunch of witches in a later wave. There we go. We have a Ravager in a minecart already. Not sure if I want to do anything with him, but we will see, and let's see if the witch gets close enough to get caught in our minecart trap. She's already running around trying to heal up the Ravager. Looks like that minecart there is following, and maybe, oh no, she dodged it. Haha, she's got the jukes, this one. Oh, I got hit by the slowness, but we got a witch. Yes, there we go. Haha, all right. Now we need to make sure we can redirect the rails away, and most importantly, name tag this witch so she doesn't despawn. The great thing is witches will kind of heal themselves if they end up accidentally poisoning themselves, so we don't need to worry about the witch's health too much. And if I just lay down a few more powered rails, grab a lever, and head off in this direction, we can take the rail away from the raid site, and that should hopefully take the witch outside of the raid radius. And there we go. She's already she's already managed to find this rail. I guess some of the other minecarts ended up dislodging her a little bit. Well, we'll see what we can do. First of all, we need to make sure she's persistent, so we can hop in here after she's thrown a potion and name tag her. There you go, madam. Congratulations on your new job as a librarian. We got a Ravager head from that as well. Oh, incredible. And yeah, the witch is still within the radius of the village, hence the raid bar still saying there is one raider remaining, but we can hopefully do something about that in just a second. Let's at least try and get her across here into the swamp. If she's in the swamp, then she'll at least feel a little bit more at home, and I'm pretty sure that since the raid bar has disappeared, that will be out of the radius of the raid as well. But this is only half the journey, because once we've got some witches stored over here, we will have to get them into the caves of Mythland, and goodness only knows how we're going to do that, but I think I have a couple of plans. The good news is the raid here is still ongoing. The bad news is the witch is flinging everything she's got at me, and yeah, I'm getting poisoned here and there. But now I've got a bucket of milk, so you can't do much to me. There you go, off on your little adventure into the swamp, and I think that should take the witch outside of the village radius, which means in just a second, yep, we can see our next wave of raiders spawning. Fantastic. And there's 3 witches over here, the traditional number. Perfect for what we need. We now have 2 witches riding the train over there, splashing each other with potions. This one here should hopefully, yes, be close enough to that minecart rail that we got her. Let's get 3 more name tags. We can name tag you, madam. And, oh, yeah, we're taking a little bit of damage as we go. And I think these 2 over here have actually ended up splashing each other with potions, and so they're now engaged in a kind of witch fight, but I think I got the name tag onto that one. I did bring a honey bottle to dispel the poison as well, so that should be fine. We could probably have brought a couple more of those if we needed them. And that one on the central ring, I think, is the only one we haven't name tagged so far. So let's check on witch number 1, who is, yep, still just hanging out in here, perfectly oblivious to everything else that's going on. We're going to set up a couple of little booths here to make sure the witches are contained, and from there we can move on to phase 2 of the heist. So after much witch wrangling, I decided to let the raid continue, and I think one of the raid mobs just ended up getting lost in a cave somewhere because for whatever reason a later wave of the raid couldn't complete. So I just decided to cancel the raid by destroying the villager's workstation, which meant the raid technically ended in defeat. But it's a victory for us. And now I've done a bit more cleanup around here just to make sure that there aren't rails and everything lying around, because we need to use them for the next stage of the heist. We now have 4 witches contained in these little temporary cells around here, and our next job is to get them through the swamp, through the forest, into the caves, and underneath Mythland's library. Now, we don't want the witches or the villagers to come into contact with each other because naturally they are enemies, and the witches might start flinging some potions. They're probably going to be flinging potions at me the whole way anyway, so I think what we need to do is sneak the villagers out to a separate holding cell first, and that's going to give us time to deal with whatever else is in there, including, I believe, an iron golem. The forest of Mythland is pretty dense. It comes out into this clearing, and then, as you can see, the beautiful terraformed landscape of Mythland emerges. We got the windmill over there. You can see all of this custom terraforming he's been doing with moss blocks, and right there, that building there, I believe, is the library. So that's where we need to find our entrance, and hopefully there should be a cave in this plains biome that will give me an easy access point. I think this hole here is actually going to be perfect, so I'm going to dig down a little bit. We're going to see if we can start a tunnel, and hopefully that tunnel should lead us directly into the heart of the library. Oh, and I recognize this ravine. This looks like one of the ravines that we explored on our first time caving on the server, so we are definitely getting very, very close. In fact, I wonder if one of these caves up here might actually lead upwards towards the library. And it looks like there is definitely some terraforming visible from down here. Let's see if we can listen out for the telltale signs. Yes, the villagers, they're right up here. Okay, we can do this. Of course, it's vitally important that we don't get the villagers killed at any point. I don't want them turning into zombies, especially if I cannot control that. So we are going to have to make sure that we are sectioned off from this ravine. And once we're done with this, I'm going to have to break all of these blocks again and make the ravine look natural so that Sausage doesn't suspect anything. Rule number 1 is going to be covering our tracks where we can. Now, I haven't taken any coordinates. I'm doing this entirely based on sound, but I think the Library of Mythland is basically directly above my head right now. I could hear an iron golem a second or two ago. I can hear the villagers milling around, and it sounds like we are right below them. So let's see. If we dig up here, I see some floorboards. This is it. We are digging into the library right here, right now, and boom! We are in what looks like more or less the center of the room. Let me see if I can dig up here. Unbelievable. Look at that. We are right up in the center of the floor, and it looks like we should be able to sneak the rest of the villagers out from here. I don't know what we're going to do about the iron golem. We may have to kill it. For now, I'm just going to squeeze him into a corner here and block him off like this. So hopefully he should not be a distraction to us. We don't want the security messing with what I'm doing here. Now it's time to break out the minecart rails. Some of the villagers might start making their way down here of their own accord because there's a gap in the floor, but this is going to be a one-way trip for now. We can worry about the witches later. Let's just get the librarians out of here. I am mildly terrified right now because MythicalSausage normally logs in around this time, and oh, one of the villagers is already down there, and it looks like he's hopped his way out again. But if we throw a minecart down in here, hopefully they should be interested in hopping down into the hole. The librarians are at work right now, meaning we can probably try and catch them next to their workstations. Yes, if we can get this one in a cart, yes, fantastic. All we need to do is get him on the rails, and he's away. Librarian number 1, and we need to make sure we have enough headroom here so we don't end up suffocating them in blocks. But that librarian should be over and out into the forest. We're doing it. We're doing it. This guy here is going to be next, and I have a feeling if we just pop him down down onto that turn there. Yes, he's in a cart too. All right. Librarian number 2 has been taken. I don't know what trades these guys have. Not important to me. The books don't matter. All I want is the glass. Let's see where the other librarians are. We have a couple up here. They're heading down the stairs right now. This guy notices that one of the lecterns has been vacated and is interested in a position. Well, I'll give you a position right here. Your position needs to be in this minecart. And I should really follow him in a minecart of my own just to make sure that he's not colliding with the others in a box and getting sent back down the minecart track. Nope, here they are, all safe and sound inside the box. Fantastic. Now, there should be 2 more librarians, I believe. This guy took a little bit of wrangling, but we've got him onto the track at last, and he should be headed down into our little temporary accommodation as well. Fantastic. Only a couple more to go. And are there more librarians up here? What is with this attic space? It's kind of difficult to see, but it looks like, no, this is just storage. Okay, fantastic. So we don't need to worry about any librarians up here. Let's replace that dirt block. He'll never know I was here. And so that's it. We have all the librarians of Mythland secure in this little holding cell. And some of them even became librarians along the way. We have an efficiency 4 trader here. We have a couple of them. This guy trades mending for 18 emeralds. This guy, I think, trades mending for a little bit less, or silk touch. He's got 2 different silk touch trades. Well, that's fantastic. But I really just want the glass trades from these guys. I want to be able to get a bunch of glass all at once. So we're going to keep them in there. We're going to probably do a little bit of cleanup inside the house itself, and then we're going to unleash the witches. Unfortunately, this means we are going to have to get rid of the iron golem. There we go. We wanted to cover our tracks, and I think the witches could potentially be in danger if an iron golem was still wandering around the premises. So hopefully the witches should settle in here nice and easily, and we got a couple of poppies and some iron. Very nice. Okay, the rail lines should now connect all the way into Mythland's library. This was quite the task. We are really far away, but I should just be able to hook up the rails to any of these witches now, and they should hopefully just sail right into the library. I am going to have to follow them in a minecart of my own, though, because otherwise I cannot guarantee that they'll make it in there, and I need them to get into the library. So we're going to do our best to break them out of here. We're going to give them a quick push, and they're going to heal up from any damage they take going through the solid blocks, and then I need to ride the minecart rail myself to make sure this witch gets there, and it looks like she's on her way. I might get splashed with a couple of potions on the way, but I think this should all connect up and everything should be powered that needs to be. It is quite the roller coaster going from the swamp into the dark oak forest, but it looks like everything is running pretty optimally so far. A couple of sheep might get on the tracks here and there, which is my main concern, but there, right there, is our box where the villagers are contained. We're going through the dark oak forest here, and the witch should take a sharp turn and head down into the cave. And now, from here, the witch is going to head straight into the Library of Mythland. Yes, looks like it worked. Looks like we should now have a witch in the library. Fantastic. And the librarian name tag is just too good. Okay, well, let's push the witch into the corner here. She seems a little bit dazed and confused. Nope, she's just poisoned herself and me. Okay, great. But that is witch number 1 in position. Witch number 2 will be on the way shortly, and MythicalSausage is going to get such a surprise next time he wants to go and trade. Okay, time for the same maneuver again. We just want to push the witch onto the rail, and she's off. Fantastic. All right, I will set up the rails for the other 2, and then we'll go and follow that one just to make sure she got in there okay. So before we move the last 2 witches in, I do want to make sure that these 2 get out of each other's way, for the reason that they do keep poisoning each other, and so I'm going to try and guide them up to the next floor if we can. Let's see if one of them decides to follow me, and then that way, hopefully, they won't end up poisoning the next 2 and throwing harming potions at them when they come up. Hopefully, splitting them up like that should allow them to just keep drinking health potions and survive. I don't want either of them to die before we can get the other 2 witches in here and before MythicalSausage finds out what I've done. And this time around, just to save a little bit of time, I'm going to do my best to send both witches at once, or at least one very close after the other. So let's break out this block. We're going to take out these blocks behind the witch, send her on her way, and then we're going to have to very quickly do the same thing with this one before the other witch leaves the loading distance. Yes, there we go. Okay, and now, oh, I just got slowed, but that's fine because I'm getting in a minecart, and I'm going to follow these 2 to make sure that I stay in loaded chunks around them. And it sounds like they have been freshly installed, so the last thing I need to do, despite the fact that I am very poisoned right now, is get them out of the minecarts like so, block up the floor, and then not die. It would be a real shame if I died in the process of this, and right now I am out of food, but this is gonna be tricky. We've got all the tracks out of here. Let's leave. Oh no, I have 2 hearts left, but we made it. We made it out of there. We've restored the floor. Oh boy, I really hope he has something to eat around here. Let's go grab some wheat from the field. Well, I think that was another successful heist, don't you? But the heist is not yet done because, as I said, we have to erase all trace that we were ever here. That means putting all of the blocks back where we found them, blocking in this tunnel, making sure that the ravine is open again. We have a couple of details to work out before we can complete our task here, but the fact that I'm now hearing witches giggling through the floor is one of my favorite things about this. And I have seen a few people commenting in other people's videos that they are part of MythicalSausage's network of spies. He knows what's going on in other people's videos. He has eyes and ears everywhere. So I want you guys to be on my side for this one and tell him that his villagers were struck by lightning. Because again, this is a mechanic that exists in Minecraft. If you strike a villager with lightning, they do become a witch. So I think it's going to be really funny to see if he buys the idea that his villagers have actually been converted, and that way I'll get to keep hold of the librarians for a little while longer. And here we go, we're back at the ravine. I'm breaking out the blocks I used to bridge over here, and hopefully this should restore the ravine to its former glory. And that is the ravine renaturalized. I think we did a pretty decent job of that. Now all that remains is for us to block up this tunnel here, and we can try and do that as naturally as possible from the other side, and yes, it's like we were never here. And so with our tunnel all filled in, the last task that remains is to transfer these villagers to an undisclosed location where I can freely trade with them. And I'm not going to show where that is on camera. Obviously, MythicalSausage is just going to have to sweat if he finds out what this video is, and you know what? I think I'm going to have a great time trading glass with all of these guys. And now, in an undisclosed location, here we are with all of our librarians, and MythicalSausage just isn't going to be able to find this. I've concealed it quite artfully, I think, and so this is where I'm going to be doing a bunch of trading. I'm going to trade with each of these librarians until they are trading me a whole bunch of glass. I'll bring in some lecterns, of course, wouldn't want them to go without their workstations, and we need those trades to refresh, but maybe I'll partake of a couple of the enchanted books here and there as well when I can. But folks, that is going to be it for this episode of Empires SMP. I do hope you've enjoyed the heist. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.